Left of the rear panel, we have a 4-pin XLR power connector. This connector can be used with the power supply that ships with the ULN-8 or with industry standard camera battery packs. Power from this connector is controlled by the power switch on the front panel. Next we have the mic and line inputs. Each AD converter in the ULN-8 can be fed from either the mic or line input on a channel-by-channel basis. Each mic input is AC coupled, has 48-volt phantom power, can provide up to 91.5 dB of gain, and has 3.3 kiloohms of impedance. The line inputs are servo-balanced DC coupled for outstanding phase coherence and provide up to 31.5 dB of gain. These inputs have a 10 kiloohm impedance. The selected input signal is also routed to the balanced send connector. For example, if you connect a signal to mic input 1 and select it, the output of mic 1's preamps is multed to send 1 as well as being sent to the converter. Or if you connect a signal to line input 1 and select it, line 1's signal is available at the send as well as being routed to the converter. The send can be used to feed a redundant recorder, mixer, or other gear. One of the unique features of the ULN-8 is the mic send-return mode. By combining the mic inputs, balanced sends, and line inputs, you can create analog inserts without losing channels. Connect your signals to the mic inputs and connect the balanced sends to the inputs of your external equipment. Bring the outputs of your external equipment into the line inputs and in Mio Console or using the front panel, select mic send return. You now have control over the mic pre's gain, which is then routed to the balanced send and onto your external equipment. The output of your equipment returns on the line inputs, which are routed to the AD converters. This gives you control of the mic pre and an analog insert without using 2 channels per signal. The ULN-8 has 8 channels of digital to analog conversion that are available at the line monitor DB25. These outputs can be set at standard line levels or at a -30 dB monitor level in the analog domain for optimal interfacing with amps or self-powered monitors. Outputs 1 and 2 are also available on 1/4-inch TRS connectors to directly output a pair of signals without needing a DB25 cable. There are 8 channels of AES input and output available. The ULN-8 works in single wire mode, which provides 8 channels at sample rates from 44.1 to 192 kHz. The ULN-8 has standard word clock input and output on terminated 75 ohm BNC that can run at 1x or 256x superclock rates. There are MIDI I/O ports to allow you to connect a control surface without using an external interface. These ports are currently optimized for control surface use only and are only functional while the Mio console is running on the host computer. There are SMPTE in and out ports to allow you to interface to timecode. There's a standard Kensington security slot and 2 Firewire 400 ports. Something to be aware of is that the Firewire ports will pass power coming from a computer or other device, but the ULN-8 will not provide power to other devices, and the ULN-8 cannot be bus powered. Finally, there's a 2.1mm coaxial power input. The difference between this and the 4-pin XLR is that the 2.1mm input is not affected by the front panel power switch. Now let's look at the front panel. On the rear of the unit. The switch can be defeated by using an internal jumper if desired. Next we have the sample rate button. By pressing this button you can step through the available sample rates one at a time. Something important to note is that the sample rate and clock source buttons get locked out while the ULN-8 is transporting audio, so that you don't accidentally bump them during use. By pressing the clock source button, you'll step through the available sources in succession: internal, word clock 256, and AES. Here I'm at 44.1 on internal clock. When I press the clock source button, I move to word clock at 44.1 or the 1x rate. When I press the clock source again, it moves to 88.2 or the 2x rate, then 176.4 or the 4x rate. Each time I press the button, I cycle through the 1, 2, and 4x rates for that source. AES is a bit different, since we not only have 3 different clock rates, but also have 4 different cable pairs to choose from. We have AES 1-2 at 1x, 2x, and 4x, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8 until we come back to internal at 1x. Now let's look at the control modes, the I/O trim modes, and how they work with the encoders. The ULN-8 offers several control modes directly from the front panel. By using the Control Mode button, you can select Monitor Control, Preset Select, Input Type, Channel Linking, Phantom Power Enable, and User Mode, which is for future expansion. When there is no selected control mode, the front panel is in the I/O trim mode. You switch between the inputs and outputs by toggling the I/O trim button. The I/O trim and control modes work together. For example, if I go into monitor mode, you can see that the LEDs around encoder 1 are lit, and I'm in input. By pressing on the encoders, I can select which source is routed to the monitor controller, 1 or 2. If I go to Output, I can select which output path I'm routing my source to. In preset mode, you can recall any of the 8 previously stored presets. Presets include input selection, signal routing, levels, and DSP patches. These must be stored using the MIO console, but can be recalled in standalone use. In the input control mode, by pressing the encoders, I can step through line input, mic input, or mic send return mode. Link mode allows you to link encoders for several inputs and outputs. For example, by selecting Input on the I/O trim, I can select Input 1 as a master and Input 2 as a slave. Once I exit the control mode, as I turn Input 1, Input 2's gain changes as well. What you're seeing is our dual digital vernier display. The gain for each channel is described by the green and red LEDs around the encoder. Each step of the red dot indicates a 0.5 dB change in gain. Each green segment indicates 7.5 dB of gain. Since these channels are linked, as I change channel 1, channel 2 will track that change. If I change channel 2, channel 1 does not change. And if I change channel 1, channel 2 will now track with an offset. This makes it very easy to do multi-channel input and output gain changes. By going back to link, I can deselect channel 2, then channel 1, and now they're not linked. If you'd like to have a true stereo control, you link channel 1 to channel 2, then link channel 2 to channel 1. Now if I change 1, 2 tracks, and if I change 2, 1 tracks. Next is 48-volt mode. By pressing the encoder, you can toggle phantom power on and off for each channel. Phantom can be turned on regardless of which input you're using. This allows you to have a condenser mic powered up while using the line input, then switch to the mic without waiting for the element to reach operating voltage. With none of the control modes indicated, we can change the input and output trims. Let's see what happens when we play some music. The ULN-8 offers comprehensive front panel metering of your input